The Green Dance, America, Envy, and Unquenchable Grace. The tag-alongs have never really had a place in American culture. You know who I mean. Those folks who come to the party late, those folks who did little or nothing to deserve credit and who get the credit, the full credit, as if they had been there all along. America honors the hardworking, those who came from nothing and build with their bare hands everything. The American work ethic, we see it all around us. And it's at the core is a single message. There are those who deserve what they get because they earned it. And there are those who do not deserve what they get because they have not earned it. Every aspect of our life is tiered this way. Winners and losers. If you are good and keep being good, do everything the right way, then you will get what you deserve. If you don't do anything, make bad choices, well, you get what you deserve. This is the heart of the issue with the passages before us. Two groups of people, those who deserve good things and those who do not. The Jonah passage is Jonah chapter 4. But to Jonah this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. He prayed to the Lord, "Isn't this what I said, Lord, when I was still at home? That is what I tried to forestall by fleeing to Tarshish. I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity. Now, Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live." But the Lord replied, "Is it right for you to be angry?" Jonah had gone out and sat down at a place east of the city. There he made himself a shelter, sat in its shade, and waited to see what would happen to the city of Nineveh. Then the Lord God provided a leafy plant and made it grow up over Jonah to give shade for his head, to ease his discomfort. And Jonah was very happy about the plant. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm, which chewed the plant so that it withered. When the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind, and the sun blazed on Jonah's head so that he grew faint. He wanted to die and said, "It would be better for me to die than to live." But God said to Jonah, "Is it right for you to be angry about the plant?" "It is," he said, "and I'm so angry I wish I were dead." But the Lord said, "You have been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals?" Please sing with us.
I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken.
passage in Jonah and the passage in Matthew, it is as if we are reading events that have been taken right out of our 21st century lives. In the first case, Jonah is told to prophesy to Nineveh. They are wicked people, cruel people, the conquerors of the local world. They have oppressed the Jews, subdued their enemies, defied God, and spit in his face. They deserve to be punished. And Jonah licks his chops at the coming destruction. In the Matthew passage, Jesus tells a story to his disciples about a master who gathers workers. He takes those early and has them work all day. He keeps taking workers as the hours move on. By the end of the day, those workers who started early are licking their chops for the daily wage they deserve to get.
Matthew 20:16, the words of Jesus. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them into the vineyard. About 9 in the morning, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again about noon, about 3 in the afternoon, and did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon, he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going to the first." The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came, and each received a denarius. So when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more. But each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. "These who were hired last work only 1 hour," they said, "and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "I am not being unfair to you, friend. Did you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I am gracious? So the last will be first, and the first will be last."
Please sing with us. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So
What Jonah thought was justice becomes an example of hypocrisy. God changes his mind and decides to save the reprobate city, give them another chance. In the Matthew story, what the workers thought was just wage for working all day is given to them. But then in a sheer act of amnesia, the workers who came very late, they get the same wage as if they were working all day. What is going on? Put this in perspective. You lived your whole life with Tommy. He's a bad apple. He's a jerk to other kids. He's a jerk to his teachers. He's a jerk to his friends. He's a jerk to his boss, his wife, his kids, the entire sphere he has lived in. He lives a long, long life being a jerk to even the nursing home staff. And on his deathbed, he suddenly says out loud, or in his mind, or when he faces the great curtain of death, "You know, I was a jerk. I am sorry for being a jerk." And he dies. You, on the other hand, lived a good life. You were nice to other kids, to your teachers, your friends, your boss, your wife, your kids. You live a long, long life. And you even are nice to the nursing home workers. On your deathbed, you say, "Man, life was so hard, but I did the right thing. I was nice." And you die. You arrive in heaven and are really ready to party the rest of eternity. Sit at the feast, fill your stomach. You walk into the vast banquet hall, given a seat way down the table, offered food and drink, bid rejoice. You sit down, you look around, and who is sitting right near Jesus? Tommy. He's smiling, even nice. And Jesus is toasting him. What in the world? The first thing in your head is, how did he get here? And then, he certainly doesn't deserve to be seated next to Jesus. God says something stunning to Jonah. Is it right for you to be angry? The master says something stunning to the disgruntled workers. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? And with what could fit into both of these passages, the master says, or are you envious because I am generous?
Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken-hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, oh sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens
That's really it, isn't it? Envy. Envy is wishing for something that someone else has and wanting it taken from them, for they do not deserve it. It is at the heart of our nature. It is at the heart of the first sin. The serpent tells Adam and Eve that they deserve to be like God. Who is he to keep that from you? You deserve it. Take it. Take it all. And they do. It is at the heart of the first murder, Cain and Abel. Cain was envious that God had accepted his brother's sacrifice over his own. He does not deserve that. I will take it from him. I will take it all from him. And he does. It is at the center of every sphere of our lives, the grinding, blackboard scraping sound that makes our dark universe spin. And if you think you are immune, think for a moment of all those things you think you deserve. It could be as simple as a new coffee pot or as diabolical as a new wife. We ruminate on the petty, chewing it like cud, burping it up, chewing it, green foam at our lips, a thin line of drool staining our shirts. You just get it under control, and then you turn the television on, see a magazine ad while you wait in the checkout, and it surfaces with its mouth gaping. I deserve to be a famous author. Haven't I paid my dues? And this young snot-nosed kid of 18 writes a book about dragons and makes $1 million. What in the world? Our lives revolve around envy. Turn on the television and watch the mad dance of green as it moves and shifts upon the screen. You deserve this new car, this new house, this new job, this new husband, this new soap. How can you live with what you have? I saw a commercial for Rolex watches this week. The ad says, it takes a year to make this handcrafted Switch watch. It takes a lifetime to deserve it. Envy has a ferocious and a fickle appetite. We feed it one thing and it changes its mind. We feed it another and it not only wants what you gave it before, but all others as well. It is a destroyer of lives, a destroyer of jobs, a destroyer of marriages, of families. It gives you tunnel vision and demands absolute obedience. And if you disobey, it immediately places before you those who obey it, their success, their happiness. Given enough time, it traps us, binds us in chains so thick and heavy that its weight is enough to plummet us into hell. Envy is the unquenchable, unstoppable ghoul from the very pit of darkness, and it has now wrapped itself in the American flag, commanding us to salute it. What can we do? Just a few lines above the Matthew passage, the disciples asked the right question. They got it. It finally sank in. If the really good folks don't have a shot, then who in the world can be saved? Jesus' response is stunning. For man, it is impossible. Nothing is impossible for God. There is one thing and one thing only that envy fears, for it's even more ferocious than it: unquenchable grace. When the God of the universe came down to Bethlehem, lived a life without envy, was tortured, disgraced, and placed on a cross to die, envy gnashed its teeth, for in that moment it ceased to exist. When the God-man rose from the grave, he really and truly did set his captives free, those bound for the abyss, packaged and delivered by the very hand of envy. That's why the psalmist can cry out, I will exalt you, O God, my King, and bless your name forever and ever. Every day will I bless you and praise your name forever and ever. He gets it. We are lost and bound for darkness. We will not kill in time and space, but we kill minute by minute in our hearts. We may not openly commit adultery, but we leer and fondle in our hearts. We may not say a word when our neighbor shows us his new boat, his new car, his new wife, but as though we walk from the scene, we burp again and wipe the green foam from the corner of our lips. We are evil, wicked people who deserve at best annihilation and probably something much worse. But nothing is impossible for God. I know this impossibility. I have witnessed it firsthand in the heart of my darkness, alone and afraid, lost in my lusts and envy, boxed in with impenetrable walls of stone, huddled in a corner, chewing and burping, clawing impotently at the air. At that moment, God came down. Not to Bethlehem, but to Kent State University, down to a small efficiency apartment, where after a night of drinking and empty promises, a friend simply asked, "You want to talk about God?" Unexpectedly, suddenly, God came down and smashed the chains to pieces, obliterated them. And like the lame man on his mat before Christ, he bid me stand, walk and sin no more. This is unquenchable grace. It is ferocious grace that does not stop, does not delay. It is terrible and severe in its volition. Like the doctor in the ER to the drug-abusing suicide attempt, he pumps out the envy, makes us gag and vomit, presses hard onto our souls as if his hand would bust through our backs, and when he is finished, he pulls us up and bids us live again. And this grace never leaves, always whispers, shouts, stopping our ears when we falter or doubt or fear. This is the grace that Jonah could not tolerate. This is the grace the workers could not bear. It is heavy enough to crush the greatest enemy, but light as ether to our souls. It transforms lives from selfish, envious monsters into a selfless, unstoppable army, and this army is on the march. It is marching throughout the world, in America, in our cities, in our streets, knocking on every door. But we must not forget, we did not earn it. God gave it to us freely. It is not something to hold tight to our bosoms, but it is meant to be given away. It is for everyone at every time, and there is never a moment that is too late or too complex or too evil for it. We see it astound the world when a wife and a husband forgive the murderer of their child. We watch in stunned disbelief as the Holocaust survivor embraces the Nazi soldier. Like a paramedic, we see it breathe new life into the worn-out skin of a drug addict's soul. We watch as it gently picks up the pieces of a shattered marriage, a shattered child, a shattered life. Everyone deserves this grace. Everyone. The worst person in the world, the darkest and most hell-bound soul. Everyone. Grace is the greatest power this world has ever seen. For it is not trapped in the world of men and time and things, and never, ever will be. When we understand that, then we can truly live. With man, grace is impossible. But nothing is impossible for God.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear! Me, how I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Let's sing that again, just our voices.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
So I was hiking last week. I picked a passage of Scripture to reflect on, and the phrase that I ruminated on and went over again and again in my mind was the steadfast love of the Lord endures forever. Amazing truth about God's grace is that there is nothing that we can do that will make God love us more, and there is nothing that we can do that will make God love us less. We are loved because God is love.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how
Lord, I thank you that in times like this where we change up the service a little bit, it may be different from the norm, but Lord, I pray that causes us to perk up, causes us to pay a little bit more attention, to see the message that's being presented to us today. Give us some time to just focus on you, raise our voices to you. Lord, even though today's message is a heavy one, we all struggle with envy. Lord, I pray that we can leave today inspired and encouraged, that the envy we struggle with is met with grace. Lord, I pray that we can be encouraged by that, but then we can also treat others that same way. Not envy them, but give them grace. And use those relationships and those opportunities to spread the gospel. Amen.